Have you ever stood in a vast, silent valley just as the last light of day bleeds away from the sky? Imagine that silence, deep and profound. Now, listen closely. In your mind's ear, you might just catch it, a faint, mournful sound carried on the wind. A howl, not a triumphant call from a healthy pack, but something thinner, more solitary. It's the sound of an echo fading, a story nearing its end. This is the sound of the lone wolf, a creature of myth and legend, now a symbol of something far more fragile. Picture this wolf, its paws treading softly on snow-covered ground. It lifts its head, and a plume of breath ghosts into the freezing air as it calls out, not for territory, but for companionship. The call travels for miles, across frozen rivers and through skeletal forests, searching for a reply that will never come. The stars above, cold and distant, are the only witnesses to its solitude. This isn't just a story about one lonely animal. It's a story happening all over our planet, a tale of fading voices and growing silence. The howl that goes unanswered in the valley is a metaphor for the countless species standing on the precipice of oblivion. The pressures they face are immense and relentless. The world they knew, the world they were perfectly adapted for, is changing faster than they can keep up. Let's journey back to when these valleys were alive with sound. For millennia, predators and prey were locked in an intricate dance, a cycle of life and death that kept ecosystems in perfect balance. Herds of elk, deer, and bison moved like great rivers across the landscape, their numbers kept in check by the watchful eyes of wolves, bears, and great cats. The hunters ensured only the strongest of the herd survived, strengthening the gene pool and preventing overgrazing. Every creature had its role, every sound had its meaning. The snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the chorus of howls at dusk, it was all part of a symphony of survival. But the music is fading. One of the most significant pressures is the loss of prey. As human populations have expanded, we've transformed vast wilderness into cities, farmland, and highways. The great herds that once roamed freely are now confined to smaller and smaller pockets of land, their migration routes severed. Imagine a mother wolf, her ribs showing, desperately trying to find enough food for her pups. She travels further and further each day into unfamiliar territories, risking encounters with rival packs or humans. The hunt becomes more desperate, the chances of success slimmer. When the top predators weaken, the entire ecosystem feels the tremor. Then there's the silent, creeping threat of climate change. Animals that have spent thousands of generations adapting to specific conditions are now facing a world that is literally changing beneath their feet. Consider the polar bear, the icon of the Arctic. Its entire life is built around sea ice. It's a platform for hunting seals, a nursery for raising cubs, a highway for traveling vast distances. But the ice is melting. The hunting season is shorter. The journeys between ice floes are longer and more perilous. We see heartbreaking images of emaciated bears stranded on land, a stark visual of a creature whose world is disappearing. It's not just the Arctic. In the mountains, creatures like the pika, a small relative of the rabbit, are struggling. They're adapted to cold, rocky slopes and can overheat and die if temperatures get too warm. As the climate warms, they are forced to move higher and higher up the mountains, seeking refuge in cooler climes. But mountains only go so high. Eventually, there is nowhere left to go. They are being pushed off the planet, one vertical foot at a time. This is a silent extinction happening in the high, lonely places of the world, far from our daily view. These pressures, loss of prey and a changing climate led to another devastating problem: shrinking populations and fragmented habitats. When a large, continuous population is broken up into small, isolated groups, it's like shattering a mirror. Each piece reflects only a fragment of the whole. These small populations become incredibly vulnerable. With fewer individuals, the genetic pool shrinks dramatically. When a large community speaks a language, it's rich, diverse, and evolving. But if you isolate a few speakers, the language stagnates. Words are lost, grammar simplifies, and eventually it may die out altogether. This is what's happening to the genetic code of so many species. The library of survival strategies, built up over eons, is being erased page by page. The Sumatran tiger, the black rhino, the mountain gorilla wall are now living in these tiny, fragmented islands of habitat, their genetic diversity dwindling with each passing generation. This brings us back to our lone wolf, howling into the empty expanse. Its solitude is the end result of all these interconnected pressures. The pack, once a bustling family unit, has been whittled down by starvation, by loss of territory, by the simple, tragic inability to find a mate. The snowfields that once echoed with the playful yips of pups are now just lonely, silent plains. The fading stars in the pre-dawn sky seem to mirror the fading hope of its species. It's a deeply melancholic image, and it's right to feel a sense of sadness. This is loss. It's the permanent erasure of a unique form of life, a story that has been unfolding for millions of years, brought to an abrupt and premature end. But melancholy can be a powerful catalyst. It can be the quiet space where we stop, reflect, and decide to act. The story of extinction is not yet fully written. The final chapters are still in our hands. The silence in the valley doesn't have to be permanent. The work of conservationists around the world is a testament to the power of human compassion and ingenuity. They are the ones reconnecting fragmented habitats, creating corridors so animals can move freely and find mates. They are the ones working with local communities to find ways for humans and wildlife to coexist, turning conflict into stewardship. They are the ones running breeding programs, a desperate but vital last stand to save the genetic legacy of species on the brink. Think of the California condor, pulled back from a population of just 22 individuals, or the American bison, brought back from the edge to once again thunder across the plains. These stories of recovery are not miracles. They are the result of decades of dedicated, painstaking work. They are proof that where there is will, there is a way. The howl of our lone wolf is a call to us. It's a call to listen, to understand the intricate web of life that we are a part of, and to recognize the profound impact of our actions. It's a call to support the organizations and individuals on the front lines of conservation. It's a call to make conscious choices in our own lives, to reduce our footprint, and to advocate for policies that protect our planet's wild places and wild creatures. The silence is growing, but it's not absolute. We can choose to fill it, not with noise, but with the vibrant, thriving sounds of a healthy planet. We can work to ensure that a wolf's howl is once again answered by its pack, that the Arctic ice remains for the polar bear, and that the pika continues to thrive in its mountain home. We can be the generation that turns the tide, that replaces the melancholy of loss with the symphony of life renewed. The story is not over. Let's write a better ending together. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, please consider sharing it and subscribing for more content that explores our connection to the natural world. The earth turns, seasons shift, and empires of nature, no matter how mighty, fade into memory, leaving behind only whispers on the wind and echoes in the stone. For thousands upon thousands of years, a true sovereign roamed the vast landscapes of the Americas, a hunter of immense power, a creature born of ice and shadow, its very presence a testament to nature's raw, untamed strength. This was the dire wolf, Canis dirus, a name that rightfully means fearsome dog. Imagine, if you will, a world sculpted by the last great ice age, a world of sprawling grasslands, dense, ancient forests, and colossal glaciers inching across the continent. In this world, the dire wolf was not just a predator, it was an apex force, a keystone in a vibrant, brutal, and beautiful ecosystem, larger and more robust than its modern relative, the gray wolf. The dire wolf was a master of the hunt. Their jaws, among the strongest of any canine that has ever lived, were built to crush the bones of the megafauna they hunted, giant ground sloths, formidable bison, and even young mammoths. For millennia, their howls were the undisputed soundtrack of the Pleistocene night, a song of survival, dominance, and belonging that echoed from the Alaskan tundra to the plains of what is now South America. They were a symbol of nature's enduring power, a perfect predator in a primeval world. Yet, like the glaciers that once defined their era, they too would recede, melting away into the annals of prehistory, leaving us to piece together their story from the fossilized bones they left behind. As the great ice sheets began their slow, final retreat, the world the dire wolf knew began to change irrevocably. The climate warmed, altering the very fabric of the landscape. The vast open grasslands that had been their hunting grounds started to shrink, giving way to denser forests and new types of vegetation. This dramatic environmental shift triggered a cascade of consequences. The megafauna, the giant herbivores that were the dire wolf's primary food source, began to struggle. Creatures like the mastodon, the saber-toothed cat, and the giant sloth found their habitats disappearing and their populations dwindling. The dire wolf, a hyper-specialized hunter perfectly adapted to preying on these large animals, suddenly found its pantry bare. Simultaneously, new competitors and new challenges emerged. The more agile and adaptable gray wolf, a close relative but a distinct species, was better suited to hunting the smaller, swifter prey like deer and elk that thrived in the changing forests. And then there was the arrival of another, even more resourceful predator, early humans. With their sophisticated tools, cooperative hunting strategies, and ability to reshape their environment, humans presented a level of competition the dire wolf had never before encountered. It was a perfect storm of climate change, prey extinction, and new competition. The dire wolf's very strengths, its size, its power, its specialization, became its fatal weaknesses in this rapidly transforming new world. The end was not a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, inexorable slide into oblivion. The last howls of the dire wolf likely grew fainter and more infrequent, until one day, about 10,000 years ago, they fell silent forever. The story of the dire wolf is more than just a fascinating chapter from a lost world. It's a profound and poignant lesson, a mirror reflecting the challenges that face wildlife in our own time. When we look at the struggles of modern-day predators, we see the echoes of the dire wolf's fate. Consider the majestic snow leopard navigating the high, remote mountains of Asia. Its existence is threatened by a warming climate that pushes the tree line higher, shrinking its alpine habitat and scattering its prey. Or think of the African wild dog, its vast hunting territories fractured and reduced by human expansion, making it one of the most endangered carnivores on the continent. The parallels are impossible to ignore. Habitat loss, changing climate patterns, and conflict with human activities are the modern-day equivalents of the great thaw that sealed the direwolf's destiny. These animals, like the direwolf before them, are not just beautiful creatures. They are vital components of their ecosystems. As apex predators, they maintain the health and balance of their environments, culling the weak and sick, and preventing herbivore populations from overgrazing and destroying plant life. Their disappearance creates a void that ripples through the entire food web, leading to what ecologists call a trophic cascade, a chain reaction of extinction and imbalance. The silence left by the direwolf 10,000 years ago was a warning. The potential silence of the tiger, the polar bear, or the mountain gorilla in our lifetime is a call to action. We are living through a period of immense change and the fate of countless species. These modern-day megafauna rests precariously in the balance. But this story does not have to end in silence. The direwolf's tale is a cautionary one, but it is also a source of inspiration, a catalyst for hope. Unlike the forces of nature that drove the direwolf to extinction, the challenges facing today's wildlife are largely of our own making. And that means we also hold the power to unmake them, to choose a different path. All across the globe, a quiet but powerful movement is underway. Dedicated conservationists, scientists, and everyday people are working tirelessly to turn the tide. We see it in the creation of vast national parks and protected corridors that give animals the space they need to roam and thrive. We see it in innovative projects that help local communities coexist peacefully with wildlife, turning potential conflict into mutual benefit. We see it in the painstaking work of breeding programs that bring species back from the very brink of extinction, and in the global efforts to combat illegal poaching and trafficking. We are learning from the past. We understand the importance of genetic diversity, the need for connected landscapes, and the intricate, delicate dance of predator and prey. We are using satellite technology to track animal movements, DNA analysis to understand population health, and community outreach to foster a culture of conservation. Each success story, no matter how small, a restored wetland, a stabilized wolf pack, we are the inheritors of this planet, and with that inheritance comes a profound responsibility. The direwolf could not adapt to its changing world, but we can. We can choose to be the force for preservation, not extinction. As the first light of dawn begins to paint the horizon, spilling soft hues of gold and rose across the sleeping plains, a profound quiet settles over the land. It's a silence that is not empty, but full of potential. It's the kind of stillness that precedes the chorus of morning birds, the rustle of life stirring in the grasses. In this tranquil moment, we can imagine a future where the lessons of the past have been fully embraced, a future where the wild places of our world are safe, where the descendants of ancient lineages continue their journeys, a world where the howl of the wolf, the roar of the lion, and the call of the eagle are not echoes from a lost time, but living sounds that will continue to resonate for generations to come. The sun climbs higher, its warmth spreading across the landscape, promising a new day, a new beginning. We can build a world where nature and humanity flourish together in balance and in harmony. The legacy of the direwolf reminds us of what can be lost, but the sunrise reminds us of what can be saved. Let this quiet hope be the dawn of a new era of stewardship. Let us rest in this peace and awaken with the resolve to protect the beauty and wonder of our shared world. Now, let the silence hold you. Let the gentle light fill your mind. Rest, sleep deeply, and dream of a world reborn. Have you ever stood in a quiet place and felt the weight of history all around you? Like the air itself is filled with whispers from a time long past. Imagine for a moment stepping back not just 100 years or even 1,000, but tens of thousands of years. The world is a different place, greener, wilder, and home to creatures so immense they feel like something from a dream. Now, what if I told you there's a place right in the heart of one of the world's busiest cities where these ancient whispers are not just felt, but can be seen, touched, and understood? This isn't a fantasy. It's a journey into the deep past, a story told by bones and preserved by thick, black asphalt. For over 50,000 years, a natural trap has been lying in wait in what we now call Los Angeles. It doesn't look like much at first, just a series of dark, sticky pools bubbling under the California sun. This is the La Brea tar pits. To the ancient animals roaming this land, it might have looked like a simple watering hole, a place to quench their thirst. But beneath the surface, a thick, gooey asphalt, a natural form of petroleum, was slowly seeping up from deep within the earth. An animal that stepped in, perhaps a young mastodon separated from its mother, would quickly find itself stuck. Its desperate struggles and cries would then attract predators, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, and giant short-faced bears, all hoping for an easy meal. But the tar was unforgiving. It didn't care about predator or prey. One by one, they too would become trapped, their bodies sinking into the blackness, preserved in a perfect, airless tomb for millennia. This isn't just a story of death, it's a story of preservation, a perfect snapshot of a lost world. The tar, or asphalt, acted like a natural embalming fluid. It protected the bones from the usual decay, from weather, from scavengers, and from time itself. So when scientists began excavating here in the early 1900s, they weren't just finding a few scattered bones. They were uncovering an entire ecosystem. Millions of fossils have been pulled from these pits. We're talking about more than just the big, impressive megafauna. They've found microscopic plant fossils, pollen, dust, seeds, insects, shells, and the bones of tiny fish, frogs, and birds. Each tiny fragment adds another word, another sentence, to the epic story of the Ice Age in North America. Let's meet some of the stars of this ancient drama. The most famous is probably the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon fatalis. We often imagine them as these huge, tiger-like beasts, but they were actually built more like modern-day bear stocky and incredibly powerful. Their most striking feature, of course, was those incredible 7-inch canine teeth. But what the fossils tell us is even more fascinating. Scientists have found Smilodon bones with healed injuries, badly broken legs, and hips that would have made it impossible for the animal to hunt alone. This suggests something amazing. They may have lived in social groups, like modern lions, where the pride would care for and feed its injured members. The tar pits didn't just preserve their bones, they preserved evidence of their behavior. Then there are the dire wolves. You might know them from fantasy stories, but they were very real. And at L'Abri, they are by far the most common large mammal found. We have fossils from over 4,000 individual dire wolves. This sheer number tells us they likely hunted in large packs. They were probably drawn to the pits in huge numbers by the sounds of trapped herbivores. A single trapped bison would have been a feast for a pack, but it often turned into a deadly trap for them as well. By studying the wear on their teeth, we can learn about their diet and even how they competed with each other for food. Some fossils show teeth worn down to the gums, suggesting older wolves were scavenging and cracking bones to get every last bit of nutrition. And what about the giants? The Colombian mammoths, standing over 13 feet tall at the shoulder, were true titans of the Ice Age. Their massive, curved tusks weren't just for show. They were tools used to dig for roots, push over trees, and defend against predators. Looking at their fossilized teeth, which have ridges like the bottom of a sneaker, paleontologists can tell they were grazers, feeding on grasses and shrubs. We can even look at the chemical isotopes in their tusks, which grew in layers like tree rings, to track their seasonal migrations and diet changes throughout their lives. It's like reading a diary written in bone. Alongside the mammoths were the ancient bison, with horns spanning over 6 feet, and the peculiar western camels and horses, which were native to North America before they disappeared from the continent and were later reintroduced by Europeans. What the L'Abri fossils show us is a complete, functioning ecosystem. It wasn't just a random collection of animals. The pollen and plant remains tell us this area was a mix of coastal sage, scrub, and chaparral, with pockets of woodland and streams. The tiny mouse and rabbit bones tell us what the smaller predators were eating. The insect fossils, some still iridescent after 40,000 years, tell us about the climate and environment. It's a level of detail that is almost impossible to find anywhere else in the world. Every fossil, no matter how small, is a piece of the puzzle. It helps us reconstruct not just what these animals looked like, but how they lived, how they interacted, and the world they inhabited. The work at L'Abri is far from over. In fact, it's happening right now. Project 23 is a perfect example. In 2006, during the construction of a new underground parking garage for the art museum next door, 23 large wooden boxes of fossil-rich asphalt deposits were discovered and saved. Scientists are still working their way through these boxes, and the discoveries have been incredible. They found the most complete mammoth skeleton ever discovered at L'Abri, a magnificent male they named Zed. Zed's bones are nearly all accounted for, from his massive tusks down to the tiny bones in his tail. He's given us an unprecedented look at mammoth anatomy. What's truly magical about L'Abri is that you can see this science in action. The museum is built right next to the pits, and through the windows of the fossil lab, you can watch paleontologists and volunteers meticulously cleaning and identifying these ancient treasures. You can see them carefully chipping away the asphalt matrix from a dire wolf skull, or piecing together the vertebrae of a giant ground sloth. It's a transparent process, a living window into scientific discovery. It reminds us that paleontology isn't about dusty old bones in a basement. It's an active, ongoing investigation into the story of life on our planet. The story told by these fossils is also a cautionary tale. All of these magnificent creatures, the mammoths, the saber-toothed cats, the dire wolves, are gone. They vanished in a massive extinction event around 11,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age. Scientists are still debating the exact cause. Was it the rapidly changing climate? Was it the arrival of a new, highly effective predator, humans? Or was it a combination of factors? The fossils at Labrie provide crucial data points in this ongoing debate. By understanding what happened in the past, we can gain a better perspective on the challenges facing wildlife and ecosystems today. The same forces of climate change and human impact are still at play, but now they are happening at a much faster rate. The whispers from the tar pits are more than just ghost stories. They are lessons written in bone and preserved in asphalt. They teach us about resilience, about adaptation, and about the fragility of life. They connect us to a deep past that is still, in many ways, part of our present. The next time you find yourself in a bustling city, remember that beneath the concrete and steel, there might be another world waiting to be discovered, a world of ancient stories just waiting for someone to listen. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found these stories from the tar pits as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into our planet's incredible history. See you next time.